Hi there, guys. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Got a very weird something out of J.K. Rowling's sort of like Harry Potter movie, isn't it? Here you go. The European Union to establish Ministry of Truth. Guys, we've been seeing this war, haven't we, when it comes to information, the information war that we're all sort of like caught up in, this disinformation, misinformation, truth from lie, those that want to call sweet bitter and bitter sweet, good evil and evil good. Got some really interesting things for us to be looking at relating to this. This is coming straight out from the People's Voice TV, a commentary that basically Ursula von der Leyen has literally sort of like, let out the sort of like cat out the bag as such at a Brussels meeting. Literally the assault on the truth continues. Would like to welcome some of our new subscribers and channel family members. Bless you. We're also over on Rumble as well, where we get to make videos. There's about 900 plus videos out there for you, a whole Bible and devotionals, a movie and an album, and loads of literal clips from the Beast system that we've collated over the years there, covering quite a lot of subjects similar to what we have over here. As a former therapist as well, there's also some videos out around anxiety, bereavement and loss. There's also some in and around self-esteem, and also some on sexual abuse and abuse per se and addiction, to throw in just a few more there for you. So if they're sort of like things that you're sort of like struggling with, or perhaps know that people are, then you can find that over there. It's like having an hour's worth of therapy with me in a sense, but we put those videos together, so help yourself to that. As I'm sure some of you are aware, in the mornings we kind of like do a read all about it section, where there'll be one or maybe two posts, and in there'll be like 20 sort of like articles there for you, front pages if you will. And then we'll have a live, and then after the live we put in a supplementary kind of post in and around that, just so that it sort of like builds up a little bit and confirms, I suppose, what it is that we've been speaking about in our live, and just gives you a visual. So if you've not got a lot of time and you can't sit through an hour of jibber jabber, or perhaps are not wanting the fellowship that we sort of like have here, then you can literally just like scroll through on the read all about it, and then you can read all about it, and the extra. I think even the other day we had something about extra postscript kind of a thing. Just as much information as we can get out to you relating to end time sort of like headlines, as well as just exposing the beast system, plus developments that might be coming out to affect you and yours. So keep an eye out for that. And sometimes occasionally we do have like a couple of lives a day, but for the moment our commitment is to be here every day, 6 days a week. And so this is the start of a new week for us. And so going to be looking at, guys, this article coming out from the People's Voice, but it's all over various other platforms, starting to gain a little bit more momentum with the European Union to establish a ministry of truth. Hi there, our sister, bless you. Thank you for putting that up. Before we get into that, guys, like we usually do, we have the article and then we're a little bit kind of like, well, but I do a little bit of research in before that, and there's some things I'd like to read out about this. 1984 was meant to be a warning, not an instruction manual. Brussels just announced its newest creation, a Centre for Democratic Resilience to fight foreign disinformation. Translation, well, the EU is building its own ministry of truth. They say it's to counter Russian and Chinese narratives, but in practice, it's a system for policing speech, memory and dissent, dressed up as resilience. It will monitor journalists, influencers, even ordinary citizens, deciding what qualifies as truth. Guys, I hope you've seen in the post today, Joey Barton, an ex-British sort of like footballer, has been thrown into jail for some posts that he's been creating. Guys, I'm telling you this right now, doing what we do here as a channel is getting increasingly more risky, when you have the police that are literally kicking down doors, releasing people out of prison that are sort of like rapists and murderers, so that they can create some space for content creators that come out and expose evil. Some of the articles also today around the mother and her family being warned because she was blowing the whistle on some of the mRNA vaccine and those dangers. Guys, we expose far more than just mRNA vaccines. And for my peers as well, this might be a confirmation for some of them as to why it is that they don't speak out against some of these things, as we are instructed to do in Ephesians 5:11 and exposing evil. And for those of us that actually do expose this and actually speak out against these tyrannies that are against, you know, God's children and all the other evils that occur, this is an added confirmation that it is getting more riskier for us to be doing this, especially over here in the United Kingdom, where you have the online sort of like safety bill under the pretense, just like it was saying here, like the Ministry of Truth in Europe will just be, you know, for those that are sort of like trying to counter Russian or Chinese sort of like narratives and agendas and everything of that sort, just as much as the online safety bill here in the UK was meant to just protect children. No, it's not. It's literally silencing the opposition. These individuals who serve the father of lies, no wonder that they're going after the truth. Similarly, a minister over here in the UK, please do see our post today this morning relating to the fact that he had you know, scripture on his sort of like own vehicle saying that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through Jesus Christ the Son. And yet he's being deemed as that, as being, you know, hate speech. Similarly, all of these trigger warnings are being placed upon the holy word of God. Equally, over here in the UK, you know, people are preaching and being arrested. People are literally being arrested, okay, for praying. So it's not going to be very long, my brothers and sisters, until we are finding ourselves receiving fines and sort of like first and final warnings, etc., relating to our content as the church, as to those that speak out against those that are watchman channels. And it won't be a matter too long after that until they'll be thrown into jail, or I'll be thrown into jail as well. And then they'll go to the next sort of like, you know, stage of developments once that they've legalized all of their crimes with the establishment of these committees, these organizations, and these policies and acts and bills to sort of like justify, you know, throwing the sort of like key away at individual people. Or they'll just turn around and say, right, these guys are sort of like, you know, terrorists or whatever, will be put into that sort of like brackets. And all of a sudden there'll be no legal representation. All of a sudden we'll be thrown into sort of like black sites, re-education camps, death camps, etc. That's where this is all heading, a really slippery slope. So continuing with this, guys, it is getting increasingly dangerous for us as a channel. Okay, and just to sort of like, you know, put my own tinfoil hat on this morning on my prayer walk, there's a guy who's sort of like walking up and down, sort of like, you know, I walk around this massive field, following me whilst I'm on my prayer walk. All right, and I'm sort of like, I got the drop on this guy all of the time, trying to hide behind trees, trying to do all of that. And when I sort of like come around, then he sort of like turns away, walks away, then tries to follow me and everything of that sort. All right, I have not that paranoia about it, but guys, I've been photographed. All right, I've had people coming at me really, really fast. I've had the Lord also tell me to get out and get away from that particular area and not go there today. This is genuine, guys. It's not me being a Fruit Loop. This is the assault on so many people over here in the UK. All right, trying to silence us, trying to ruin our lives, trying to break the algorithms and the shadow banning and the blacklisting and everything else that we have as a ministry, because we stand for the Lord Jesus Christ and we speak his truth. And we will not cower and we will not be avoidant, and we will continue. But this is what we're having under the pretense of safety for people, safety for, you know, sort of like, you know, to protect the narrative. It's not. It's because people are starting to wake up. People are starting to realize about the climate lie, that the revelation of the method that they give in terms of telling people in advance what it is that they're doing doesn't float no more. And people are starting to unpack that a little bit and think, well, that looks a bit suspicious. You've been teeing us up. You've been grooming us, which is another sort of like abusive technique that they have and will use against its own population. And then all of a sudden it becomes of, oh, well, we've been found out now. We need to regain trust. So we'll have this slow reveal, this soft disclosure that they'll come out with, just like Bill Gates with the narrative. All of a sudden he's speaking out against, sort of like, the climate lie. Okay. And it's just really deceptive and really deceitful tactics that they're using against people as well. And we need to be really wise about this. So the Ministry of Truth over here, the EU and Nazi Ursula von der Leyen, please do see our pictures and our images after this particular live, guys. Okay. All right. They say it's to counter Russian and Chinese narratives, but in practice, it's a system for policing speech, memory, and dissent dressed up as resilience. It will monitor journalists, influencers, even ordinary citizens deciding what qualifies as truth. And then when you add Peter Thiel and his Palantir technology that can literally be weaponized and used against you as well, it is not going to be boding very well for content creators. Guys, this is our 7th channel on YouTube, and we've had the same amount elsewhere where we have tried to build this up. It's got so infiltrated, so polluted, and so destroyed, and everything's just been wrecked and wreaked havoc with it. This is the sort of like war that we're against, trying to wake people up to the environment, to the world that they live in. Continuing with this, they call it resilience, but it is really fragility disguised as virtue. The fear that one alternative idea, one historical interpretation, one article that doesn't toe the Atlanticist line could puncture the entire illusion. So they create a pan-European fact-checking guild and a network of state-approved influencers to raise awareness. You won't need to burn books when you can just throttle their reach. Seeing this as well, aren't we? Fact-checking sort of like CIA Wikipedia documents that are placed on our video, trying to manipulate, trying to coerce the narrative. We've also got those that are working in these call centers all over the world that are being paid and bought by the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates, running human interference, literally messing and sabotaging with all of this technology that they are using against civilians illegally. Might I add, when it comes to spying upon them, they don't have court subpoenas, they don't have arrest warrants to be able to do what it is that they do. They're all doing it so deviantly. And these governments, especially like the UK over here, are literally authorizing them with 24 Palantir contracts to be used against the civilians and its population, those that speak out against that. And then having the, reward and punishment sort of like social credit score system to those that comply. And I just want to sort of like say, it was really great on Friday that there was like 2,700 people that ended up seeing our video. That was just amazing. And ordinarily I would have been like, okay, that's really great. The algorithms must have had a day off. And it wasn't because of that, because on Friday it was my daughter's birthday, and ordinarily that would have been an absolutely horrific day for me. I would have missed her, haven't seen her for 2 years, and she lives in the same village, and I adore my children, and that would have been a really hard day. I would have sort of spiraled into a hole of misery. And on that day, it was a case of God saying, no, I have got you. And then all evening, all right, I was having messages after messages, put my phone down, another one would come. And and God beautifully distracted me. All right, but we are also fighting against all of these algorithms, and we're also fighting out against all of these, sort of shadow banging and the technology being used against us. As soon as these guys start making their crimes legal with bills and acts and Ministry of Truths, that's it. It's over. These guys are so threatened by people waking up, by people actually, exposing their frail lies. And it is. Because when you're bragging and you're boasting in the revelation of the method, sort of like style, and then you get found out, and then you use that clip to say, hey, did you know this guy just said this, or this person just said that? Then you're being punished for exposing what it is that they said. So when they've got these depopulation agendas, oh, we're going to kill you all off, then we should be able to make those videos around it. But they want to control the masses. And then people get so brainwashed, such a sheep and sort of like hive mind, where they end up reinforcing all of this narrative. Told you about my own family about a week ago, didn't I? I was just flippantly just turning around and said, oh, do you remember about, Macron? Did you see that clip? Macron on, in a room with like, the German chancellor, and there's like a bag of Coke and he's got like spoons and everything like that. Did you see that? And it was instantly dismissed. Right, instantly dismissed. They didn't even see any evidence. They didn't even see the video before it was dismissed. That is how thorough a job that you get when you go to these platforms and you put your hope and your faith and your trust into these particular environments. This continues. The EU's logic is Orwellian to the letter. War is peace. They call it censorship and protection. Freedom is slavery. They call propaganda resilience. Ignorance is strength. And they call obedience unity. How they will flip all of these particular words against you. Please do see our 2 videos pertaining to, the psychology of tyranny when it comes to the terms and expressions that they use against everybody. This continues. The timing tells a story. Brussels is starting to lose control over its economic narrative, over its citizens, over the war narrative it's sold as salvation. As dissent spreads from Paris to Prague, they're not debating ideas and encouraging debates, they're outlawing them. A healthy society wants to have that particular type of debates. Healthy and proper and academic science is asking questions. It is critical analysis. These guys don't want you to have that debate. They want you to do as you are told and simply roll over and die. That is literally all they care for. A bureaucratic empire that no longer commands belief now seeks to manufacture it by decree. And here's the real danger. Once truth becomes a state licensed product, everything else becomes contraband. Today it's Russia. Tomorrow it's anyone who asks the wrong questions about migration, energy, or NATO. And this is why I want to pause for a second. This is why we received our strike, because I had Keir Starmer with a picture, right, looking like that, looking guilty on his face with just blood on his hands. Could have put it in to some sort of like red paint for all it had, and that was all I titled it all as. And I had like loads of particular articles there, all 10 of them, and at the end of it was like an immigration one that says, look, just go home. Right, and it didn't like that, didn't like it having, it being questioned. Doesn't like when we get a little bit close to the Club of Rome and expose the beast system, that it wants to shut our lives off and just cut our lives out with all of this artificial intelligence cabling that's there. It wants to track and survey. It wants to positively ID. It wants to turn around and, show signs of force when it comes to military aircraft flying overhead, just to let you know that I'm right there, hovering over my flipping house. It wants to intimidate and bully and harass you into all of these things. It wants to cut your communication lines off between you and other like-minded individuals. Doesn't want you to have any sense of freedom, autonomy, or doesn't want you accessing some of these things. Shown you evidentially, have I not, guys, here, how it is that they'll turn around and say, oh, I'm sorry, you can't read the People's Voice TV. It is forbidden. It is, what a word, forbidden, sort of like Garden and Eden style, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Forbidden. It is restricted. Why on earth am I not able to access some of those on other devices? No, because they want to put Trojan horse software onto my devices with these updates so that I can't bring you these particular bits of news. This is the war that we are literally up and against. And in a sense, and this is where I've been frustrated on my prayer walk, because I've been like, Lord, the beast system has no authority or power over your church. It has no power or authority. The gates of hell shall not prevail. So we should be able to expose these individuals and highlight their evil and their wicked schemes and their plans and everything. We should not be silenced and suppressed and just kicked into touch and then take down our platforms. That's bad form. That also goes against their mockery of revelation of the method. Because if you're gonna start mouthing off, expect to be exposed. And you're turning around, and saying, well, we were going to kill you all, and we agree with depopulation. Hey, applauds to your own death. I'm sorry, but I'm going to bust Kamala Harris on that. I'm going to bust Klaus Schwab when he comes out and says about transhumanism and all us having these brain chips. And I'm going to bust Albert Bourla when he turns around and says that this is what this vaccine does, and Fauci and Gates and everybody else. I'm going to bust these individuals. Europe's new democracy shield isn't protecting democracy. It's armoring tyranny with moralistic language. And you just wait until today, this afternoon, or right now as I'm speaking, you'll get these hypocritical politicians laying laurels of wreaths of poppies down at the memorials of the slain through the World War I and World War II, and the absolute hypocrisy. Hoping you also got to see that little post, guys, I put in the other day relating to a 100-year-old war veteran who turned around and said that fighting in World War II wasn't worth it because of the state of Britain, because of the tyrannies where you haven't got the right to protest, you haven't got the right of freedom, religious freedom, or you've got the right to freedom of speech. That as far as this demonic, evil, Fabian Marxist kind of government thinks, that it's okay for you to just sort of be silenced and not have any rights whatsoever, where it wants to wage war on Christianity because it sees its Stalin, it sees its Marx as God, doesn't want any relationship when it comes to the state. You watch TV programs like The Americans and just see how anti-Christian these sort of Russians really literally are as well. This sort of Fabian is exactly the same as well, having had Keir Starmer go over to sort of Russia when he was a kid on all these summer camps and being busted and, found out by security details. This is the guy who literally has this particular agenda and policy, waging war on the very foundations of this particular country when it comes to freedom of speech, turning around in front of sort of Donald Trump and just saying, oh, we believe in freedom of speech. You do not. You're taking it away from everybody, and you're controlling and manipulating the narrative with your fact checking. And now we're getting into lazy zones, don't we? When it comes down to sort of AI also playing the part of that, when it's coming to shape that narrative, all built by those that want to propagandize you and steer you towards a desired outcome. Continuing with this. What began as a union of nations, which is we're talking about the EU here, has metasized into an ideological commissariat determined to dictate what is real, what is history, and what may be said aloud. The ghosts of the 20th century must be howling. They all sort of laid down their lives so that we wouldn't have a Europe run by Nazis. All right. And then lo and behold, what we have in the form of Ursula von der Leyen. All right. She is a Nazi through and through. I've been saying to you guys, the Germans surrendered, at World War II, but the Nazi party never did. And after this, guys, I'm going to be putting images in our community post about all of these Nazis that didn't just end up over in NASA. They ended up in the EU as well. And they're still in there today. Continuing, the 1984 wasn't supposed to be a blueprint. Brussels just made it a policy paper. Can we please make 1984 a cautionary work of fiction again, please? EU plans hub to tackle disinformation threats from Russia and others. That others is you and I. And the Daily Telegraph, EU to establish a Ministry of Truth to police online speech And so then they'll tie up everything to the banking with the digital IDs and the passports, and then the CBDCs, and then put the social credit score system in on that. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Trendell, you've been speaking out against the government. Sorry, you can't have any food. You can't have any water. No, you can't buy that ticket. You can't go anywhere. This is against your allowance. Guys, this is where we are heading. Ursula, and she is a communist as well as a Nazi, Ursula von der Leyen gets laughed at for her new Ministry of Truth. Quote, this is what she says: the rise of misinformation is dividing our societies. This is why we urgently need to monitor the disinformation. You're obviously fearing this new center. It's absolutely hilarious, isn't it? This is like what happens when these guys end up losing control. This is the one thing that they can't, this is their biggest fear. All right, them losing control and people waking up. But we're at a stage where it doesn't really, let's be honest about it, it doesn't matter whether you're awake or asleep or you're comatose. This government is going to carry on doing what it's doing. Your government is going to carry on doing what it's doing, immaterial of how much it's exposed. But it's the lies and it's the deceit attached to this. Okay, Brazil also, not just the EU trying to push this, but Brazil has now got its own Ministry of Truth, funded by public money and the support of a Ministry of Human Rights run by Erica Hilton, a male politician who identifies as a woman and designed to monitor citizens for problematic opinions about trans people with the use of AI. They call it the platform of respect. I call it what it is: censorship. Brazil's Ministry of Truth has a new name: the Platform of Respect. AI can now filter anti-trans content on internet and report targets for criminal persecutions to the government. This is where it's heading, people. Also, that was Brazil. Talking about the EU, let's just bounce over to the US. The Biden administration tried to create a real-life Ministry of Truth run by a cringy Mary Poppins nutball to silence the people on social media who dared question the media and government lies. Britain, here we are, has a Ministry of Truth, and you are paying for it. Police commissioners are spending taxpayer money on spreading false pro-immigration propaganda. All right, so these are the ones that want to start, sending all of this sort of, manipulation. Oh yeah, the UK wants to be all supportive of Palestine. Wrong answer. No, it doesn't. 9 out of 10 of us do not want to see a Palestinian state, but they'll turn around and say yes. Then when I'm doing my research in the morning and I'm looking at digital ID, they'll put in their sort of false narrative articles as well, saying Brits are really excited to have digital ID. Oh, it's going to make it so much easier for all of us to have this digital ID. Oh yes, we can't wait. When does it come out, please, sir? It's literally, are you kidding me? You idiots, these stupid morons, when it comes to these journalists that are writing this on their behalf. It's like they used to have journalistic integrity, where that used to be the last line of defense for truth, for telling the truth. They'd do anything to sell some papers. They'd expose anybody. Now they have all been paid and bought off, and now they're putting all of these documents and all these articles out to run interference, narrative interference for you. So trying to manipulate and coerce, saying, oh yeah, we don't mind the immigrants that come over here and want to rape and murder our women, and that's fine. We ain't got no problem with that. Yeah, bring them over. Bring them by the truckload. We don't mind. Oh yeah, we're so welcoming. We're so open. Yeah, it's all about diversity. No, it's not. We were saying, wasn't it, emotional suicide, what it basically is leading all to. These police officers that literally put out all of this information and suppress those isn't. The digital liberation, Grokopedia, and the fall of Wikipedia's Ministry of Truth. For decades, we have lived under the illusion of a neutral crowd-sourced encyclopedia. Wikipedia has a noble idea, but it has rotted from the inside. It is no longer a repository of knowledge. It is a political weapon, a digital Ministry of Truth, ruthlessly policed by an army of anonymous, unaccountable left-wing activists. These are the guys that are sitting in these call centers running this particular interference against you. And then, you trying to sell, then this is what is really evil, trying to sell Wikipedia and encyclopedia as academic resource papers. And I've been through university twice, and I'm telling you, your essay will be ripped up in front of you, especially where I went, if you were ever to quote Wikipedia or the encyclopedia in your bibliography, because it's not a valid academic resource. Any dude in their pajamas in their garage can just content add to that. They can cite that. It's not academic at all. It's not peer reviewed. It's a laughing joke. But these guys will want to put it onto our videos when we're speaking against chemtrails and mRNAs and the poisonous vaccines, and we're speaking against 5G and all these other things that are weaponized against you, and they try and manipulate the content in that sense, as if almost implying that I'm lying to you. All right, I don't lie to you, my brothers and sisters. I give you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Okay, so when we do these lives, I give you the article. Here is the article. This is what is being said about that from various platforms. Added on top of all of that, I then, like I'm doing right now, giving you so much information relating to all of this that I've researched before I've even come on here. And then following up on that, I'll let you guys have a little say, and we'll engage a bit later in terms of what your experiences are. Then after all of that, okay, sometimes I'll even put videos of that where I've made people speak about it, or I'll put the follow-up supplementary post to our live. Okay, with pictures and imagery, the things that I've said, in order that you can have a look at it and make your own informed decision. I am not saying thus says me nothing. I'm just giving you as much information for you to make an informed decision. It's down to you and your household. We've spoken about being a bit preparatory when it comes to maybe some food, or having a plan B or C in case this kicks off or this goes down. That's me being loving. I'm not forcing you to do this. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm not emotionally blackmailing you. I'm not sort of like spiritually hijacking you with all of this. I'm giving you the choice. I'm trying to empower you. And you could be like, no, mate, no, it's cool. I'm not going to do that. It's fine. It's entirely up to you. Continuing, the platform's fatal flaw is its human element. It is run by editors who act as ideological gatekeepers. They are not scholars, they are activists. They wield their administrative powers to enforce a rigid, progressive narrative. Their strategy is simple: control the sources, and you control the information. Need proof? Look at the political battle of the last decade. For years, the Hunter Biden laptop was aggressively labeled Russian disinformation. On its pages, a narrative parroted directly from the deep state. The COVID-19 lab leak theory was similarly suppressed as a fringe conspiracy, only to be changed when the establishment was forced to admit its plausibility. It's all about the slow reveal and the soft disclosure. It's just like, Clinton, oh yeah, I didn't have any sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky, whatever. Oh yeah, by the way, my bad, yeah, I did actually have some of that as well. And then the OJ Simpson, no, I didn't kill that woman at all. I know, husband, your boyfriend. Oh yeah, I kind of like did. Unbelievable. Just go look at the pages for any conservative intellectual. It is littered with controversy sections and weasel words, citing left-wing blogs as reliable sources. It's the same with what some of you guys have been saying to me about, what do I think about this person, that person, this person. They're all propaganda. I don't care. I don't care who you are. All of this is sort of like, it is state-sponsored, running, controlled opposition. The likes of Alex Jones, I'll use his articles because I sift through his lies. Same thing with the People's Voice, completely anti-Israel and completely pro-Russian. I'll sift through theirs because they are deliberately allowed to speak some of these truths in order that they then entice everybody else into it. So at the moment, the article that I'm going to look at in a moment is from the People's Voice. I could have chosen others, but I chose theirs because I like the format and it was short enough to add on. All right. But what they're also really pushing at the same time is a very anti-Semitic agenda. I don't go nowhere near that. I will expose Israel when Israel messes up, and that's fine. I'm not biased in where I expose. I expose where the Lord shows me. But what they're now trying to do with the People's Voice is this VPN. So it's a case of, well, you can't trust China, you can't trust America, you can't trust, Russia. You can only trust our VPNs, and it ain't, sort of like being meddled or messed about with when it comes to Israel. And then people will be like, oh, great, fantastic, oh, great. I don't want to have that. I don't want to have this. I'll have yours. And then all of a sudden, these guys then go giving that information up and over to them. It is literally selling them down the road. So throughout the whole COVID pandemic, I could not get enough of naturalnews.com. I was like, you guys are just amazing. You're exposing all of this stuff. And then just overnight, once they got their sort of like enormous audiences, then they threw them under the bus later on and became so anti-Semitic. It was absolutely vomitous, borderline. All right. And you've got different platforms that are literally doing that. I'm not saying the church per se, but I am definitely saying all of these news resources that I bring to you. Very aware that you have to be very discerning and you have to weigh that up for yourself. But that's me being sort of like, at least a little bit ethical my end, saying here's the information, you make your own mind up. But I'm going to exhaust that as much as I possibly can with looking at it from different angles, from different platforms, and then saying, there you go, have a little look see and see what it is that you think. But these guys don't want to give you that. They want to insult your intelligence by trying to think that you don't know how to think for yourself. That they want to stupefy you with all of the distractions that they want to throw in front of you, like entertainment, like money. Or what they'll do is they'll put so much of a burden upon you when it comes to everyday living that you can't think about anything else other than just getting by, getting through the day. And then they'll weaponize everything else against you just to keep you all tidy and keep you all in line. And so many people are just like that. They've got a herd mentality, a sheeple mentality. So many rolled up their sleeves with the vaccine. So many are also going to be stupid enough to sign on to these digital IDs. And we're seeing this, guys. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Continuing. Go look at the page for any conservative intellectual. It is littered with controversy sections and weasel words, citing left-wing blogs as reliable sources. Now look at the page for a progressive. It is sanitized hagiography. This is not an encyclopedia. It is an enforcement mechanism for the globalist narrative. Even Wikipedia's own co-founder, Larry Sanger, has repeatedly called it hopelessly biased and propaganda. Now, that monopoly on information is finally broken. Imstex's Grokopedia is not just another website. It is a declaration of independence. Its foundation is the very thing Wikipedia fears: raw processing power, not human bias. It is balanced by data, not ideology. This is the crucial difference. It does not ask a committee of San Francisco super editors for permission to state a fact. This is what we're also saying, and this is why. And this is the other controlled narrative. It's a case of, right, okay, Elon Musk, you come on into the White House, we'll teach you, we'll show you what you're going to do, then we're going to release you, then you can go and make some havoc. And then you can just go and target Britain, say that, oh, there's going to be a civil war, we don't blame people if they're doing all this, so that our government then starts blocking you because of the crap that's coming out of your mouth. Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's a case of, right, well, sorry, you're not allowed to have access to Twitter anymore. You're not allowed to have that. 2 days ago, I lost Twitter completely. I was not able to sign into it. And I was just like, I was starting to get worried because I was like, this is where I get a lot of my stuff. I go over there, I get the memes, I get the pictures, I get the imagery. I cannot and will not trust Google and these other search engines that will just literally manipulate and lie and suppress and take everything away. There has to be a few places where we can go. And then I was like, wow. I was like, Lord, I was praying. In the end, I had to download the app. And when I downloaded the app, I was able to access it all again. All right. And I had to sign all up. I had to lose everything that I had as well. It's just like the assault on it. And I hadn't asked it to sign me out. I haven't signed myself out. This is what happens when you get these updates that they will literally do without your say so, because the government and Peter Thiel have got that, which would be a case of, right, as soon as this dude uploads the date or plugs in their phone, we're going to do that. And as we do that simultaneously, we'll wreak havoc with all of their lives or their apps and their content and everything else when it comes to banking. And we'll just wreak absolute havoc with it, despite the fact that I don't want these updates on my phone. And it doesn't give you a choice. Like we've been saying, it says install now or install later. I don't want to install at all, because what you do also is you change all the fonts and the styles, you put everything. I'm having to relearn my whole phone, and I don't want that. And it ain't for my protection. It isn't to fix bugs. You know what I mean? You deliberately release bugs so that I have to buy all of your software. It's exactly what Microsoft did as well. So here you go, the Word document will control the entire narrative, and then all of a sudden it became so, right, now we'll release all these bugs, so you have to have our antivirus software, just the same as what they're doing with all of these bio leaks from, you know, laboratories when it comes to infections and diseases and pandemics, and voila, here you go, got to have your injections and your vaccines. Nothing really changes. The corporation media, in their panic, will shriek that Grokpedia scraps Wikipedia. Of course it does. It scans the enemy's propaganda, ingests their lies, and corrects them with the very facts and content that same editors work so hard to bury. It is an intellectual predator consuming the weak and biased to build something stronger and truer. We are finally seeing the end of activist editor. The age of the centralized woke encyclopedia is over. The truth is open source, and the establishment is terrified. Wikipedia was a digital prison built to shield a dumb audience from history. Grokpedia is the tool that tears down the walls. This is what we're seeing, guys. Then all of a sudden you'll get everyone being all anti Elon Musk and all of that sort of stuff. And then, you know, they'll start banning his platform as well. Same thing that they were threatening with Telegram. Same thing that they're still trying to do with Rumble, although that has been subtly sort of like, you know, handed over. Because for years before, for a year and a bit while we were over there creating every single day, that was the platform where I could say what I want, do what I want. And then just soon as the online safety bill came out, bam. Couldn't do nothing, couldn't screen record, couldn't download, upload, import, export. I couldn't do nothing, couldn't make any video. And even if I did make a video, it wouldn't, then Rumble would not accept it because it didn't want all of its fines. It didn't want all of that. So it's really interesting, isn't it? Just how, you know, even over here, you got Tommy Robinson, all right, who turned around to the police and said, no, man, I ain't opening my phone for you. I'm not giving you my PIN. Forget about it. And they took him to court, all right, for terrorism. Elon Musk comes in and saves the day, pays for his sort of like legal fees and everything, and then he ends up winning. What's that about as some sort of like police and governmental overreach? Obama made it legal for the media to purposely lie to the American people. In 2012, he signed H.R. 4310, which allowed propaganda to be used on US citizens by its own government, essentially repealing the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, which bans the use of domestic propaganda. AI is also trained to mock dissent while its billionaire masters strip the NHS, rewrite reality and call it free speech. We've gone from Orwell's Ministry of Truth to Musk's algorithm of abuse. And this is part of it as well. So it's a case of, right, we'll put the Wikipedia up, but when it comes to the AI as well, we'll release some of that, but we'll control and we'll herd all of this narrative. You're telling me that Mr. sort of like saluting with his hands, you know, Nazi style, and Mr. sort of like 666 fingers and Illuminati pyramids, and Mr. Neuralink and everything relating to, you know, the upcoming mark of the beast is someone to be really trusted? No, controlled opposition, trying to gather that audience so that he can also, later on, throw them under the bus, which is why you've got JFK all of a sudden coming out, showing his true colors now when it comes to wearables. Oh, yeah, we're going to arrest all these chemtrails. Oh, we're going to stop all these mRNA vaccines. And then you get sort of like Bill Gates having tea and supper with Trump. And then you get Pfizer, Albert Bourla coming in. Oh, and lo and behold, what else comes in? Some other dude from, you know, pharmaceutical companies who ends up dropping down in the Oval Office as well. You think, come on, man, seriously. Tell you about this. Look, Adolf Hitler had a Ministry of Truth. Joseph Goebbels had a Ministry of Truth. Joseph Stalin had a Ministry of Truth. Joseph Biden has a Ministry of Truth. The EU has a Ministry of Truth, as does Britain. Here, even in Canada, Digital Safety Office of Canada established and mandate. The Digital Safety Office of Canada is established. The mandate, the office's mandate, is to support the Commission of the Ombudsman in the fulfillment of their mandates, the exercise of their powers, and the performance of their duties and functions. Do you know what I mean? Policing all of this. In Germany, during World War II, the Ministry of National Enlightenment was the Reich's Ministry for Propaganda and Public Enlightenment. And they controlled the film, radio, theatre, and the press during Hitler's reign in Nazi Germany. But don't make any comparisons when it comes to the Canadian Bill C-11. The CIA's information war on American citizens, and the operation that started it, Project Mockingbird. This is one main aspect as to why people are so divided and brainwashed in today's society. Information has always been a crucial component to power and control. Knowledge is power, right? The only difference today from 40 years ago is that now information flows at a rate that is absolutely mind-boggling and allows you to connect with anyone at any time, anywhere in the world, real-time information 24/7 at your fingertips. So what happens when you have people who are supposed to be giving you accurate, truthful information and start to give you information that benefits, manipulates, and persuades the global population with mis and disinformation, protects certain corrupt people and groups by not reporting on other information, and who also lies and slanders other individuals, all for the purpose to maintain power and control over the entire population, entirely also on purpose. You get what's called propaganda, also known as a SH1T show, of so much proposed purposeful bad and fake information that it literally starts to persuade and mold the population's overall views and opinions on an array of various topics to fit the nefarious controllers behind the scenes narrative or agenda, ultimately benefiting only them. If you take notice, these campaigns have been around for a long time, depending what side you're on, of course. Your personal views and where you get your overall information will ultimately decide or be a factor of how much it has affected you or how much you are aware of the deception in the first place. This is what Jesus was always saying to us. Do not be deceived. Be a Berean. Do your research. Ask those questions. Don't have to be told what it is that is truth and what is lie. Okay, I'm just going to leave some of those there, guys. I could sink a battleship with the amount of sort of information I prepared in advance, but I think that sort of like highlights our point. I do want to speak over about, you know, lying, actually, with some Bible verses here. Proverbs 12:22, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are his delights. Proverbs 6:16, there are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. Proverbs 19:9, a false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. Psalm 101:7, no one who practices deceit shall dwell in my house. No one who utters lies shall continue before my eyes. Proverbs 12:19, truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Colossians 3:9, do not lie to one another, seeing that you put off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its creator. Luke 8:17, for nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be made known and come to light. John 8:44, you are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Going to be looking over at the article, the EU, you know, to establish a ministry of truth. But I would like to hear what you guys have got to say. Bless you guys. Thank you for being here. Hi, Sherry. Hi. Bless you, daughter Vishka. Thank you for putting our Rumble account up. Hi, Truth Over Lies. You're most welcome. Bless you. Yeah, absolutely. Ursula von der Leyen. Indeed. She absolutely is a Nazi. She is literally a Nazi. She doesn't hide it either. And who'd have thought that after all of this time in 2025, that it's sort of like the EU president, okay, would be run by a Nazi. I mean, Hitler's put, you know, if the boy's, you know, is actually dead, or he's not sort of like really crumbling over in Argentina somewhere, do you know what I mean? He must be laughing his butt off. Hi there, Jeremy. Good to see you. Bless you. Yeah, absolutely. Left-wing activist equals nut jobs. Hi there, Sub-Zero. Good morning to you. Bless you, mate. Oh, what's that say? I'll leave that. All right. Let's have a look at the article. EU to establish the Ministry of Truth. The European Union plans to counter the spread of disinformation, which Brussels claims could erode trust in democratic systems. What a load of nonsense straight away. It's not about that. These guys lie. They've turned around to you and I and said that the COVID-19 vaccine is you know, efficacy, whatever. It's all safety. It will stop transmission. They lied. All right. It sterilizes people, creates sudden adult deaths, supercharged cancers, set everybody up with the self-assembly nanotechnology in it to the Internet of Things and the Internet of Bodies, and can be weaponized against you when it comes to the 5G and all these other frequencies. They lied. All right, I've shown you videos. You've got them over on our channel on Rumble, where you've got literally, you know, oh yeah, the COVID vaccine is 90, 100%, 90%, 80%, 70, 60, 50, 30, 20. Do you know what I mean? And then it's being banned, lied. They lie about the climate. It's a lie. Okay, the climate lie is the Beast Systems GoFundMe project. All right, with trillions at his disposal. God destroys the earth, not man. All right, this was the brainchild from the Club of Rome, which Ursula von der Leyen, or Ursula Liar, okay, wants to speak about and blag out about when it comes to the limits of growth and depopulation. When it also comes to wanting the UK to be back into the arms of Brussels. Because Britain rejoining, Europe is the second Club of Rome's kingdom. Okay, these guys came up with that same thing they stole from the prophet Daniel, 10 end-time kingdoms. All right, number one is Trump, and that is the 51st state with Canada and Greenland. That's the first one. And you see what's happening over there. These are these guys that come out with it, and they've lied about all of this climate. They've been doing it for decades. Oh, there's going to be no oil. Oh, there's going to be no ozone layer. Just like they did. Oh, yeah, there's weapons of mass destruction. All they do is lie and lie and lie and lie. And after a period of time, people start waking up to when they start to see when they're being propagandized. They start waking up when they're starting to have cry wolf. All right. And when there's these wars and there's rumors of wars, etc., that people just continually fall for and then regurgitate to everybody else doing the system's job for them. It's because, they've corroded so much trust, which is why you get the WEF, you get the WHO, and then the UN, and then the EU, and everybody trying to regain your trust, trying to do that, just like Trump's trying to do now with RFK and the chemtrails. No one's ever going to be brought to, justice. I'll tell you that right now. Fauci's still walking around free as a bird. That man should be lined up against a wall. Personally, there should be some of these other individuals and monsters that need to be on death row, but they'll never be there. The only justice that they'll ever experience is when Father God gets a hold of them, or the angel of the Lord drags them, kicking and screaming into the presence of Holy Father, who will judge them, where they will not get away with that. But we're seeing this sort of is damage control from the beast system, when he wants to lie and deceive to you even more, pretending to you that these individuals are going to be brought to justice. An absolute lie and affront. Oh, yeah, we're going to ban all these, vaccines and everything else. And you're hanging out with Bill Gates with arrest warrants on him. Lock him up. Ground his plane and lock him up. All right. Oh, Albert Bourla. Oh, yeah, mate, you're doing a fantastic job at Pfizer. Hey, have billions of more money. Here you go. Same thing over here in the UK. Oh, get your flu jab, otherwise thousands of people are going to die. No, get your flu jab, and then thousands of people will die. Sick people. But this is what they're literally doing, and it's frustrating for us as those that follow Jesus, who is the way, the truth, and the life. There's no life found in the Lord whatsoever. Have to be constantly at war with the beast system, that all it wants to do is steal, kill, and destroy all of the time. Continuing, according to a leaked document seen by The Guardian, the European Union is stepping up efforts to launch a centralized hub for monitoring and countering what it calls foreign disinformation. It is only going to be a matter of time, friends, until you or I, especially me, all right, is going to be lined up into a court. All right. And these guys are going to throw that you've been speaking about this disinformation, and can I just say to you as well, when it came to that post the other day, guys, with that dear old woman who had her child being vaccinated against her wishes, and she was trying to push it, and the judge turned around and says, well, there's no scientific evidence pertaining to these vaccines causing harm or autism or anything. I could have sunk a battleship for that girl if I was on her legal team with the evidence that I have, with the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos that were on Rumble by scientists. I could have put her through to a few contacts that I've got, shoved some sort of articles and research and some peer-reviewed scientific studies pertaining to that. She could have walked out of there with having every single, but she didn't have it. She didn't have this information. She didn't have that support. She didn't have this knowledge base that we are desperately trying to give to people. And she lost because of it. Do you not see where this is all heading, guys? This is why, personally, for me, All right, I'm not relying upon, my sister being a judge getting me out of trouble if I get thrown into there. It might one day come in helpful. Maybe that's why they're boxing a bit clever when it comes to me. Maybe they're thinking this guy isn't crazy or insane because he's actually a former counselling therapist. So maybe they're trying to box clever. But I'm doing everything I can in myself to say, no, I am going to give so much information to our videos and our lives that you could sink a battleship. So if I was taken into court, all right, I'd be able to turn around and say, right, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. You want scientific studies relating to the sort of like dangers of these COVID-19 vaccines? Have at it. And I've been giving them everything. Dr. Vernon Coleman. I've been giving them, this guy, Nicholas Schultz. I've been giving them so much peer-reviewed, scientific, FDA, CDC, the whole caboodle on it. They won't be able to come back with me on that, because I know what we're talking about. This is why we pass on so much information to and for you, so that you're in that situation, you're going to be in that. But ultimately, what does the Lord God turn around to us and say? That when you're in these environments and you will be sent to court, don't worry about it. I will give you the defense. I will give you the words in which to speak. But look at what happened to that poor woman who didn't have a leg to stand on because no one was there having her back. What happened if she'd been in one of our lives? I could have sent that girl so much. She could have done her PhD on it and just gone, there you go, boof, and just have at it. But didn't. Walked in there half-cocked, inexperienced, not having anything. And that could have been a real eye-opener for a judge as well, who would have been able to see those credible research papers that come out with this. Continuing with the article. The proposal has been met with sharp criticism from the US, with its State Department describing the sort of Ministry of Truth move as Orwellian, and added that censorship is not freedom. These hypocrites are going to be laying poppy wreaths down right about now, turning around and, giving a salute and whatnot. RT reports, critics have long warned that Brussels initiatives amount to institutionalization of a censorship regime. They're losing control, completely and utterly losing control. They lied to you about absolutely everything. This digital ID is just going to help the migrants. No, it's not. It'll just be to keep children safe. No, it's not. It's to track and survey and control and manipulate you. They lie, they lie, they lie. And what does Jesus turn around and say to the Apostle John when it comes to the mark of the beast? That they were all deceived. Have we not been deceived by the vaccines? Birth rates plummeting, global genocide. Bye-bye, Georgia Guidestones. They've all been sort of like ticked off, haven't they? Mission accomplished. 5.65 billion people rolled up their sleeves. Job done. All sterile. This continues. According to the European Commission proposal set to be published on November the 12th, the so-called Centre for Democratic Resilience will function as part of a broader Democracy Shield strategy pitched by Commission President Ursula von der Leyen ahead of the 2024 European elections. You wait until all of a sudden that they'll start saying this about, our community guidelines. And these guys, this is exactly it, isn't it? The community guidelines to this platform are the beast system's rules. And I won't bow down to them. And I'll keep coming out with it. No matter what they do, I will speak out against it, because I will not comply with it now or ever. So many do. Participation in the centre will be voluntary, and the Commission has welcomed like-minded partners outside the bloc, including the UK, of course, because of Adolf Starmer, and countries seeking accession. The draft accuses Russia of escalating hybrid attacks by disseminating false narrative, which are pointing also to China as another threat, alleging that Beijing uses PR firms and social media influence to advance its interests across Europe. That's called deflection. That's called denial. When these guys are doing the exact same thing against you and I, go and blame someone else. They call that transference in other areas. By spreading deceitful narratives, sometimes including the manipulation and falsification of historical facts, they try to erode trust in democratic systems. No, they do that already. It's called sabotage. The Guardian cited the document as saying, though it provided little substantial evidence, the Commission frames the move as a defensive response to foreign meddling. Okay, citing as one example the controversial cancellation of Romania's 2024 presidential election. It's not at all, they stole that. However, Telegram founder Pavel Durov noted it was the EU, namely French intelligence, that pressured him to censor conservative content during elections in Romania and Moldova, condemning the bloc for waging a war against free speech. The new centre will add to the EU's growing network of tools to monitor and moderate information, and is expected to work alongside supposedly, independent fact checkers, and even coordinate with online influencers to promote content aligned with Brussels policies. The proposal fits neatly into the wider enforcement framework of the EU's Digital Service Act, which mandates the removal of harmful content and has drawn fierce criticism for free speech advocates. These guys are the walking, talking definitions of harmful content. Washington, once a partner in joint disinformation monitoring through the now defunct Global Engagement Center, has since distanced itself from the EU's regulatory push. The US State Department recently described the bloc's initiatives as Orwellian, stating that censorship is not freedom and warning that such measures only serve European leaders and shield them from their own people. This is what J.D. Vance says, if you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. US Vice President Vance told the Munich Secretary Conference in January, referring to the Romanian election. If your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with. Ursula von der Leyen, the Nazi that she is literally establishing, guys, this ministry of truth, something out of Harry Potter movie, isn't it, with the Ministry of Magic and that monstrosity. Okay, I want to sort of like just sugarcoat some of this if I can. All right, when it comes to putting scripture over this, when it comes to the truth. John 14:6, Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. John 8:32, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 16:13, when the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all the truth, for he will not speak of his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will declare to you the things that are to come. John 17:17, sanctify them in the truth, for your word is the truth. Which is why they're trying to rewrite it, suppress it, and ban it, and put it as hate speech, and put all these trigger warnings all over it. John 4:24, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. 2 Timothy 2:15, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. Proverbs 12:22, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are his delights. Ephesians 6:14, stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness. 1 John 3:18, little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. Psalm 145:18, the Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. Psalm 25:5, lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long. Psalm 119, 160. The sum of your word is truth, and every one of your righteous rules endure forever. John 1:14, and the word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. 1 Corinthians 13:4, love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. John 1:17, for the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Psalm 86:11, teach me your way, O Lord, that I may walk in your truth. Unite my heart to fear your name. Ephesians 4:15, rather speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ. John 18:37, then Pilate said to him, so you are a king? Jesus answered, you say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice. Pilate said to him, what is truth? After he had said this, he went back outside to the Jews and told them, I find no guilt in him. James 1:18, of his own will he be brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. 2 Timothy 3:16, all scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, equipped for every good work. John 8:31. So Jesus said to the Jews who had believed him, if you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Amen. Speaking of truth, Ephesians 2:8, for by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. Titus 3:5, he saved us not because of works done by us in righteousness, but according to his own mercy, by the washing of regeneration and renewal of the Holy Spirit. Acts 4:12. And there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. Romans 10:9. Because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Acts 28:28. Therefore, let it be known to you that this salvation of God has been sent to the Gentiles. They will listen. Galatians 2:21. I do not nullify the grace of God, for if righteousness were through the law, then Christ died for no purpose. John 3:36. Whoever believes in the Son has eternal life. Whoever does not obey the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God remains on him. Amen and amen. Some beautiful scriptures there for us, guys. The truth, absolute truth. Just wondering what you guys think in and around this this sort of like ministry of truth that we're seeing. We're seeing such an onslaught, aren't we, guys, when it comes to the information war that we're all a part of, the disinformation, misinformation, what they call truth and lie, what they call good, evil, and evil, good, sweet for bitter, and bitter for sweet. trying to turn everything inside out, upside down. They call it transference, they call it denial, and they sort of like call it reverse psychology. Call it what you will, guys. The truth is being censored. They are trying to silence us and suppress us, and unless we continue to speak out, they will have their way. Praying that this, guys, reaches you well. You're able to see some of these sorts of things. Look out for the post afterwards, guys, where I'm going to supplement this live with some imagery and some other bits of evidence pertaining to the EU and how it's become so Nazified, as well as the onslaught to the truth. Thank you to our mods and our team for just holding the fort, keeping this a safe space for us, guys. I will be putting some extra posts out a little bit later on this afternoon, or maybe perhaps this evening, hoping that you've been able to see our read all about it, and you can read all about it too. Look out for the extra read all about it sections in a moment. But thank you, guys, and bless you, and we'll talk again soon. All right then, now, bye bye.